My name's Anne Alexander and I'm Director of Learning at Cambridge Digital Humanities. I'm very pleased to welcome everybody to this online information session about the Social Data School. We're recording the first part of it, which is going to be the presentation and then you'll have a chance to ask questions. We won't be recording the questions, that's just so that we can put out the material afterwards for people who are interested but missed the session. So the online social data school will take place between the 11th and 19th of December this year. It's going to be introduced in a minute by my colleague Irving Huerta, who's the convener of the data schools, and then we'll go through some of the modules in a little bit more detail. As Irving's just put up the details of what we're going to go through. The session will probably finish in about 40-45 minutes. So I'd like to hand over to Irving, who's going to give us an overview of how what the data schools are and how the social data school works.
Yes, thank you, Anne, and welcome everyone to this Q&A session. My name is Irving Huerta. I am the convener of the data schools, and yes, I am going to give an overview now of the upcoming social data school, online social data school in December 2023. So let me just give a little bit of background for the social data schools, what our aims are, what we really want to do with the data schools. And we have four objectives, really. We want to democratize access to tools and methods for digital data collection, analysis and reporting. We want to foster the development of ethical practices in digital research. And we also want to encourage dialogue between academia, civil society, the public sector, and industry about the social, ethical, and policy implications of digital research methods. So as you can see, it's not really a purely academic program. We really want to go out of academia and then bring people who are already working in the industry. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, but really it's a mixture of academic research methods and academics with also people who are working in journalism, NGOs, and other organizations. And also one of our aims is to provide practical instruction and knowledge exchange across sectors, professions, and disciplines, related to the previous point, really. And this edition, the Social Data School, the one that we're going to have in December, is an online intensive teaching program structured around the life cycle of a digital research project. And we're going to be covering principles of research design, data collection, cleaning of your data, preparation of your data, methods of analysis and visualization, and data management and preservation practices. That's pretty much the curriculum, the syllabus for our social data school. Now, who is this aimed for? As I mentioned before, this is a program that is trying to foster this network of researchers, people who are already engaged in investigating the social from journalism or NGOs. So people who are suitable for applications, they should apply, are people who are in journalism, in marketing, yes, in the academia as well. But probably there can be also someone who is working for an NGO, who's an activist. We encourage also the participation of trade unions, civil society organizations in general. We've had also participants in the past from the civil service, so you're very welcome to apply if you're a civil servant. So anyone who is a researcher and works with social data is very welcome to apply. Next, our commitment to democratize access to some of these digital research methods. We are very keen on seeing applications from around the world, and actually this edition of the data schools is the one that facilitates this even more because it's online. So it doesn't really matter if you're in the UK or if you are in the Americas or maybe in the Far East. You're welcome to apply as long as you can make it to the sessions that they're going to be taking place between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. in December, of course. And we also support applications from colleagues in the Global South and individuals and organizations representing historically marginalized and oppressed social groups. We're facilitating it by offering some bursaries, and I'm going to be talking about that in a second. Now, what does it cost? The standard fee is £245 per person. We had an early bird fee, but it's not available anymore. And we also have some concessions, as I mentioned before. We also have bursaries, and the bursary means that you're not going to pay a fee. So it's £0 for those who are going to be applying for a bursary. Now, what does it mean to be someone who can apply for a standard fee or someone who can apply for a concession or for a bursary? So the standard rate is applicable for if you are part of an organization with paid staff. So if you work for a large organization and you're able to pay, or your organization is able to pay for the fee, that's considered a standard fee, or we are going to allocate a standard fee for your application. But if you work for an organization, but this organization is a small organization has limited funding, then you could apply for a concession. And then this takes me to concessions. So concessions for the unemployed, for community projects, for unfunded projects as well, and for residents of the Global South, although this term is a little bit problematic. We try to make the most to bring also people who are not based in Europe or the US, other parts of the world, right? In developing countries. But these are limited spaces. Concessionary fees are limited, so we encourage you to apply soon and also to make a good application. As I said, we also have bursaries. Bursaries means that the fee is waived, so £0 for that application. But also very limited applications can get a bursary. Now, important dates for this upcoming Social Data School. The deadline for applications is the 29th of October, 2023. So it's just the end of the month. You can follow that QR code as well. And of course, the Social Data School is going to be taking place between the 11th and 19th of December. I'm going to leave it for a second in case you are taking your phone and maybe just taking a picture or using it for the QR code. Okay. Now, an overview of the curriculum. And I'm very happy to be able to share with you that we have confirmed also some new information for the Social Data School that is not already on the website. We're going to update the website in a second, but we have new teachers and new content confirmed. So it's going to go very quickly through some of the modules, and later on probably me and Anne are going to go in detail in a couple of them. But as you have probably seen on the website, we have the following modules. We have methodology for digital investigations with myself. It is really about the kind of combination of methods that you can use to pursue a project. There's also another session on basic automation for investigations. There's going to be 2 sessions that are going to be very practical. I'm going to touch upon that in a second. We're going to have another session with Jennifer Kopp on data protection and surveillance in a networked world. That includes, of course, data protection for the digital in general. She's going to include also some content on AI, just very, very fresh information too. We're going to have a session on visualization, critical visualization, I should say, with Anne. She's probably going to talk about that in a minute. Also, a session that is very popular, and it's very popular because the subject is very popular, but also because you're going to have a very, very good teacher as well, Hugo Liao. He is going to be teaching social network analysis, so how to analyze different connections from social media or social networks in general, right? It can be not just social media, but all the social networks as well. as you could see from this very rough draft of the content, which actually is subject to change, you're also going to have the possibility of having some social space so that you could interact with teachers and with other students. So we very much encourage participation, sharing of content, sharing of knowledge. So you're going to have also some of that time for that. Later on, the other two sessions that I need to mention are Principles of Machine Learning with Ana Zapata. She's going to have a combination of basic concepts of machine learning, and then she's also going to have a very hands-on session. The second part of her module is going to be a very hands-on thing, so that you already do something that has to do with machine learning. And for the final day, we're going to have Jacopo Taviani. He's a journalist and data wizard as well. He's going to be talking about mapping with drones, and that's going to be a keynote. So he's going to be with us for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we're going to be talking about some of the projects that he's been involved in particular, mapping with drones, and also stitching with some automated tools. So I think that's a good overview, although we can talk about that later in more detail with some of the modules and the Q&A as well. In total, it's going to be 14 hours of live teaching, spread over 1 week, as you could see, from the 11th to the 19th of December. This does not include the social space that you're going to be having, the troubleshooting session as well. It's going to be really more than a week and a couple of days of a learning, teaching experience. And also, you're going to have access, if you join the school, to materials online. You're going to have access to the virtual learning environment, to tutorials, slides, some exercises as well. And you're going to have access before the data school, at least a week before the data school starts, and sometime after as well. So you have time to go through them at your own pace, because we understand that this is a very intensive program of a week and 2 days. So you don't have the chance to take everything in, then there's going to be time to do it before and after. The technical requirements, probably something very important for an online edition. And this is, of course, a very good internet connection for the video course, right? Important to have your laptop or desktop where you can install software. And this is something very important too, because we're going to recommend some software, but you need to install it with some time in advance. And this can be problematic if you have some equipment that does not belong to you, but to your institution, and then you need to ask for permission. So important that you are aware of some equipment where you can install software. And well, the software that we are likely to use for this edition is the following, although it is not limited to this. So Zoom, I suppose all of you who are watching this live having Zoom. Also Gaphy for social network analysis. Sorry, my bad, not Blender and Mushroom. Please omit that. That's a mistake. But a GitHub account and a Google account, it is something that we're going to be using. We're going to be using a lot of the Google account with other tools as well online. So for instance, if this, then that, and a lot of Google Sheets, at least for my own module. And more software to be confirmed as well. I've mentioned them before, but this is the teaching team. So you've met Anne already, and Alexander. I've mentioned Hugo Liao, Jacopo, he's going to be a keynote speaker, Ana Zapata for machine learning, Jennifer Kopp for data protection and critical analysis of AI today, and myself as well. And now I'm handing over to Han so that she can talk about her module on visualization.
Thanks very much, Irving. So I wanted to give a bit of an overview of somehow we approach the question of data visualization in the teaching at the social data school. So, as I'm sure people will be very well aware, data visualization is a very powerful tool and used in all sorts of contexts for both rhetorical and practical effect, to communicate ideas, to take numbers and to turn them into visual forms that put across a particular perspective and a point of view. And really, it's the kind of communicative power of visualizations that we'll focus on in this workshop. It doesn't presuppose technical skill in making visualizations beforehand. If you don't have any experience in this area, we'll provide some background materials that you can work with that will show you how to make quite simple visualizations yourselves. If you do have experience in this area, though, it will still be hopefully beneficial for you because it will focus on the question of the purposeful nature of visualizations. And in particular, we'll try and expose some of the choices that you make when you're making a visualization, ranging from things that are important for accessibility, such as the choice of colors and contrasts and so on, to the choice of what form of visualization and what data to include in a visualization. So the exercise will include some presentation and discussion, but also a hands-on element where you'll be given a task and a scenario which will involve working to produce visualizations from different perspectives describing the same event, and then to present them and to present them back and discuss them as a group. So if that's really basically an overview of the kind of content that we'll be covering, and it also will hopefully give you a different lens onto types of visualization that are not covered in the session on social network analysis. So the visualizations we'll be focusing on will be more standard kinds of graphs and charts, and visualizations of that sort. I'll hand back now to Irving, who's going to talk a little bit about the module that he's leading.
Thank you very much, Anne. Yes, so one of my sessions is basic automation for investigations. And we're going to be looking at some software and online tools, so very hands-on, very practical session, just to run some automations that are going to be helpful for investigations in the public interest. So some of these tools are going to be helpful for data collection, for scraping from the web as well, to analyze big quantities of image and video as well. We're going to be using a little bit of generative AI. So we've been exploring recently with BART and ChatGPT to help us carry out some investigations too. And we're going to have some exercises too. The exercises that we're going to use, one of them has to do with analyzing some video footage of a conflict zone, and then we're gonna run some computer vision to be able to identify objects and text. And the other one is also image analysis. Sorry, the other one is not image analysis. The other one is with generative AI. I'm gonna be working on geolocation using generative AI. So hopefully those automations can help with some of you who are working on some investigations and research that have to do with some of these subjects and can benefit from these tools. Yes, and now can we go back to Anne so that she can talk about the perfect application, if there is such a thing, but you know, some tips for your application if you're planning to apply.
Thanks very much, Irving. So, I mean, I think the main message in terms of if you're applying is please use the space that you've got in the application form to write, not in exhaustive detail, but to write enough so that we can make a decision. It's quite common for the data schools to be fairly oversubscribed, and so we do have to choose between applications. We like to have a range of people represented in the data school. So if you write a very sparse application, it's very hard for us to make a decision in your favor, versus somebody who writes in more detail. So that would be the first point to come across. We do look at a number of criteria in terms of the applications. One of the things that we look at is the fit between what you say you want to do, what you think you need to learn, how you're using, you know, tools and methods that are being taught in the school at the moment, or if you've got a plan about how they would fit into your professional or academic development in future. So as I said, it doesn't mean that you have to be using the tools that we're teaching already, but we do like to see that there is a fit between what you want to achieve and what we're teaching. We do sometimes get applications from people who we turn down because they actually want to do something that we're not going to be covering. So again, that really helps. It helps everybody if you write enough detail in that part of the form. The goals of the school are partly to open up and democratize access to some of these methods. And so if you are part of a project or a network of other people who might benefit from you attending the school, please say so, because that's something that will help us prioritize, particularly if you're applying for a bursary or a concessionary place. This could be that you see this as a kind of train the trainer opportunity, where if you attend the data school, there are other people in your organization, or say if you're a trade unionist in your trade union, if you're part of a social movement, if you are involved in a community group or a project that has a kind of public impact, you know, again, that's something that we can take into account, and we're keen to do that. And finally, in terms of the relationship between the data schools and, if you like, academic training, the data school is open to people who are academics, whether that's, you could be working as an academic, you might be a research student. However, it's actually a ground where people can share ideas with participants who are working outside of academia, perhaps applying the same kinds of digital tools and methods, but in a context like policymaking or journalism or as an NGO, in an NGO. So we're more likely to prioritize applications from academic backgrounds if they also have engaged with some, you know, similar kinds of tools and methods to people working in sectors outside of academia, or if you're collaborating with people outside of academia. But we're very happy to see applications from, for example, research students. And if you are applying from a university and you are a funded PhD student, for example, one of the things that you can do is to apply use your training budget for attending the data school. This allows us to save the concessionary places that we have for people who don't have access to that sort of training. Please get in contact with us if you're in that position and you need perhaps some more information about the school to send to your university or your funder in those cases. But so please reach out if you have questions on that score. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a fantastic segue to the following slide on contact details. So those are the contact details. Please do reach out in case you have any question or comment about the social data school, your application, etc. So there you can have the email address for the data schools, my own personal email address as well. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram if you want it as well. And we are looking forward to seeing you in the Social Data School of December 2023. I'm sure it's going to be a great teaching and learning experience. That's going to have some projects and people who are working on investigations in the public interest with some impact in society. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending.